Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. Erev Tov, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of our series on the Amida, studying the Shemoneh Esrei, the works of Rabbi Zev Lev Shlita in his wonderful sefer called the Shemoneh Esrei. Here we are in part 20 of the series. It's a long series. We are still in the 9th blessing of the Amida, heavily surrounded with many ideas and concepts on the concept of Parnasa, of sustenance, which is the theme of the 9th beracha. And we are continuing these ideas and concepts sharing with you tonight here live on our podcast, findingholiness.com. And of course, findingholiness.buzzsprout.com or findingholiness.com. You can catch all previous episodes, all previous 19 parts of this series and much, much more. Thank you very much for those joining us live tonight and those listening on your radio or on your cell phone in a future recording. Tizkua mitzvot, and we hope to see you again. Tonight's shiur is sponsored by Mrs. Anna Schwartzman in memory of her mother Chava Bat Moshe Schwartzman Zichnai Racha. May the words of Torah that we say this evening be le'ilui nishmata tihin nafsha serura bitzror ha'chaim. I want to give a little quick recap of what we were discussing over the last few weeks. We had a contradiction between two pesukim, two very, very famous pesukim in Scripture. The first pasuk is the idea of immersing ourselves in Torah constantly, without any break. Ve'agita bo yomam v'layla, that the Torah needs to be studied and dissected constantly. This is man's mission. And as well, at the same time, we have a pasuk that we recite in Kriyat Shema all the time, that we will go and gather our grain and our grapes and our oil, so on and so forth. And how can we make sense of these two? How can we make sense of these two contradictory verses, the Agita Boyamam Valayla of Torah and the pasuk of Parnasa, that I'm able to go out and collect that my work and my produce? And we answered last week that there's a different way, a different shita of how to proceed with life, that of Rabbi Ishmael and that of Rabbi Shimon bar Yohai. Rabbi Ishmael holds that out of necessity a person is allowed to occupy himself with a worldly job along with Torah. So ve'asafta diganecha tiroshecha v'yitzarecha is this concept of me going out and attaining a parnasa, going out and receiving sustenance based on my work, together with that of studying Torah. This was the opinion of Rabbi Ishmael. And Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai says that no, really the idea is that you have to study completely Torah. Your whole life should be Torah. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself will provide for you, and that's what this pasuk is referring to, that don't worry, you'll go and you'll see how miraculously everything comes to fruition and how God is going to take care of you through different means. Last shiur, we spoke in depth about this shita of Rabbi Ishmael, and today we're going to speak more in depth of that of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai looks at these two pesukim and he says there very simply. He says the pasuk of Ve'agita bo yomam v'layla, that a person should engage in studying Torah all day, and therefore God will provide for him, is on condition that he fulfills God's will completely. However, the second pasuk of Ve'asafta deganecha v'tiroshecha v'yitzarecha, that pasuk is referring to when we don't fulfill God's will. When you don't fulfill God's will, then you have to go out and you're going to go collect your parnasa yourself, and it's not going to be necessarily provided to you by HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a miraculous way. It's something that's going to require a lot of work. So that's how he solves this contradiction. The problem with this explanation is that this second pasuk that I quoted, the pasuk in Shema, Ve'asafta deganecha v'tiroshecha v'yitzarecha, actually speaks about good times. It speaks about moments in life where Jews are fulfilling the will of God. How do I know this? Well, how does that paragraph actually start? The paragraph starts with Vehaya im shamoa tishme'u el mitzvotai. And it will be when you will listen to my commandments. And therefore you're going to receive all of this blessing. So we are doing his will. So how can Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai say that this second pasuk is referring to when we're not doing his will? How do we explain that? Comes the Maharsha. The Maharsha asks this question. And he says, it's not that he's not performing God's will. If he's not performing God's will, then why would HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless him with the abundance that is promised in the pasuk? What the Maharsha is saying, what he's trying to say to Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, according to Maharsha, it's that it's not done with perfection. The serving Hashem with all of our resources and our materials is not done with perfection. And that's the reason the Maharsha says that the word me'odecha is not written in that second paragraph, like it is in the first paragraph. And the Vilna Gaon actually supports this idea. And he says that the first paragraph of Shema, the paragraph that deals with loving God, b'chol levavecha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha, is in reference to a single perfect individual. Ve'afta, and you shall, single perfect individual can manage to cling to God in such a perfect way. Versus the second paragraph speaks about the masses. Ve'aya im shamoa tishme'u. It's written in plural form. Im shamoa tishme'u refers to the masses. The masses cannot achieve perfection. They cannot reach perfection as a whole. So, hence, the pasuk of Ve'asavta ganecha tiroshcha v'yitzarecha is in reference to a person, yeah, he serves God, yeah, he fulfills the will of God, but it's not ideal. It's not 100%. This concept of osim retzono shel makom, who are making the will of God. There's really 3 points to emphasize here on a person who fulfills the will of God. Number one is osim. The word osim, making God's will. Our Torah and mitzvot actually have the ability to trigger God's ratzon. It initiates this feeling of connection between us and Borei Olam. David HaMelech says in Tehillim, a very famous pasuk, we say it in Ashrei Yashrei V'techa, Reson Yereav Ya'aseh Ve'et Shavatam Mishma V'yoshim. God performs the will of those who fear Him. Retzon Yereav Ya'aseh. God will perform the will of those who fear Him. You fear God. You have Yirat Shamayim. You are a God-revering Jew. Then God will take care of you. The second thing to note is Osim Retzono Shel Makom. Retzono doesn't mean His command. It means His will. What's the difference? Well, you have a Jew that could fulfill God's command. These are good Jews. They fulfill the mitzvot. This is what I'm commanded to do, and I do it. And then there are those who commit God's will. They perform the mitzvot lifnei mishurat adin. It's doing God's will in every aspect of our life. It's not just I'm shaking the lulav to fulfill the mitzvah. Is what is this lulav doing for me? What is this sukkah that I just built? What's it doing for me? This charity that I gave, how is it affecting my neshama? And that's how you perform mitzvot in God's will versus God's command. I can give a few coins in tzedakah. I can give a $20 bill to a person who comes and asks, and I fulfill the mitzvah of tzedakah. Chazak u'baruch, points in Shammai. But how did I fulfill that mitzvah? Is it just here $20, have a good day? Or did I make sure that this person that came to my door was really taken care of? Did I offer him a drink? Did it impact me in a way that I'm not the same 5 minutes ago than I am right now? Then it becomes retzono shel makom, performing the will of God rather than just a command. Lastly, osim retzono shel makom of Hashem. I'm doing the will of the omnipresent. It's not my own will or my own self-interest, even if it's God's will. How does that work? Well, sometimes I want to perform God's will if it suits me, if it works well in my schedule. Oh, you know what? Guess what? I have a 15-minute break now. The rabbi's giving a class. It works in my schedule. I'm going to go listen. Hazak, good job. You will get points. Again, points in Shamayim. But what if it doesn't work in your schedule? Or you're home, you got time at home, but you're tired, you're this. It requires a little bit more effort. It's not really in your self-interest. It's not in your physical self-interest. Because, you're exhausted from work, and I just want to sit down and put my feet up on the sofa. Just want to have a beer. I want to watch the highlights of the football game. Whatever it is, you choose. But then it doesn't suit you. Then it becomes osim retzono sheli. Aratzon sheli, I want to fulfill my own will. What's the difference? Says Kotzker Rebbe. I can love HaKadosh Baruch Hu because I concluded that doing His will is best for me, and that's why I love God with all my heart and all my soul and all my possessions. Or, says the Kotzker, Hashem is truly the object of my love. No self-interest. To fulfill the path of Rabbi Shimon bar Yohai, a person needs to be osim retzono shel makom, exactly how we stated that. Those three ideas. Because when you have total dedication, when you're acting with perfection, when there's no ulterior motive, there's no other reason why you're doing this other than for God, then yes, it becomes bechol levavecha, uvchol nafshecha, uvchol meodecha. But if you're learning Torah, if you're performing mitzvot for your own self-interest or just to make a living, then it becomes like you're desecrating the Torah, has v'shalom. You're using the Torah as a spade to dig with. After the sin of Adam and Hava, Adam was cursed. We know this. The Parnasa was supposed to come to us naturally. We spoke about this in the previous Shurim. We didn't have to work. Literally, it was just like studying Torah and money falling from heaven. That's how we can picture it. But Adam was cursed. And he was cursed with the words, Bezeata pecha tochal lechem. With the sweat of your brow, that's how you shall eat bread. You gotta plow, you gotta plant, you gotta reap, you gotta, so much goes in to baking a loaf of bread. Sweat of your brow. Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Tzaditet says, although our bodies were created to toil, fortunate is one who toils through the study of Torah. Fortunate is one who sweats when he learns Torah. Famous Gemara, what does it mean? Adam ki amut ba'oel. Zot Torah, Adam ki amut ba'oel. This is the Torah, a man who shall die in the tent. Parshat Chukat, where the Torah goes on to explain the laws of Tuman Ta'ara and Para Duma, so on and so forth, and how he becomes pure again after he is found in a room with a deceased individual. But the Gemara expounds this pasuk. It says, Zot Torah. You want to know what real Torah is? Adam ki amut ba'oel. Adam shememit et atzmo alea. A man who kills himself for it. It drives him nuts when he doesn't understand something. And he asks, and he asks, and he digs. Not for his own personal pleasure. Not so that he gains honor, because this is what God wants. Again, for those just joining us now, this is the Shita of Rabbi Shimon bar Yohai. This is the Shita that very few people were able to succeed in, that we said last time. But says Rav Leff, an unbelievable chidush, the nostrils of a human are related to the soul. Kol asher neshama be'apo. The neshama is in the nose, it's through the nostrils. We breathe in. Vayipach be'apav ruach hayim. In Sefer Bereshit, in the creation, that God blew into the nostrils ruach hayim, a spirit of life. So we can say that the words bezeat apecha tochal lechem, through the sweat of your brow. Don't say be'apecha your brow. Be'apecha is your nostrils. The sweat of your soul. That's how you're going to eat bread. Those who follow the Shita of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, that Torah needs to be learned with toil and not in comfort. Those are the people who are going to receive so much reward. The Seforno, one of the great commentators on Tanakh, and as well he wrote on Perkei Avot, and he says, if a person uses a holy object for secular purposes, then it desecrates its holiness and is Hayav Mita. The Torah is Kodesh Kodashim. It's the Holy of Holies. And using the Torah for your own purposes, to earn a livelihood, or for temporary honor, is wrong. And it's Hayav Mita. It can only be done in order to increase one's personal study. And that's why the Gemara in Masechet Shekalim, Yud Bet, says that those who judge or those who teach Torah, they receive their wages from the monies donated in the Bet HaMikdash, to the Bet HaMikdash. And that's why we give Terumah and Ma'aseh. Every Jew is commanded to separate a tithe and the terumah goes to the Kohen, the Maaser goes to the Levi. What's for? Where's this going? Where's his money going? Where's his food going that I'm tithing? It's going to the Kohen, the Levim, the teachers of Torah. Those that don't earn a salary. This is their salary. It's God's salary. And it's being supported by the rest of Klal Yisrael. Because they are continuing their mission to spread Torah knowledge. And this is how the rabbis are able to teach and earn a living out of it. I don't know many rabbis that go into the profession of teaching Torah for the money. I don't know anybody. Not even an educator of general studies goes into the profession for the money. Let alone those that go in to teach Torah. Teachers don't do it for the money. So how do we get personal benefit? Then we just learn Pirkei Avot. That a person gets personal benefit, hayamita, but this is different. This is not done for a person. I'm not teaching in order so that I can take the money and go and increase my wealth and increase my luxuries. It's not what it's for. It's just to keep a person afloat. This HaKadosh Baruch Hu providing with this person because he's fulfilling his mission of spreading Torah knowledge. It has to be osim retzono shel makom. The moment the teacher, the Talmid Chacham, the Rosh Yeshiva, the Rosh Kollel, whoever is teaching Torah does it for his own personal honor or benefit, the moment that happens, it all fails. It crumbles faster than he can blink. It's gone. He will lose all the respect. No one will respect him. No one will take him seriously because they'll look right through him. And they will see, this guy just did it for show, this guy did it for honor. The person who follows the Shita of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, he's actually providing the greatest benefit, the greatest factor to build society. The Torah tells us, Im lo beriti yomam v'layla, chukot shamayim va'aretz lo samti. Without that covenant of day and night, just the covenant of Torah that we study day and night, chukot shamayim va'aretz lo samti. There wouldn't be no heaven and earth. Says Rachaim Mivalajin. Not only does it mean that the world wouldn't exist if the Jewish people didn't accept the Torah. More than that, if there's a moment in time that is Torahless, then it goes back to Torah. The world goes back to Tohu Vavohu. immediately. One of the reasons why Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world round. The globe is round so that there's daylight at different parts of the world at different times. So that there has to be somebody that is studying Torah. Because if it was to ever stop for one moment, we would all disintegrate into ash. The world would blow up, explode, implode. I don't know how it would work. Tov avo. Says Rav Aaron Kotler, the great founder of the Lakewood Yeshiva, on the pasuk that we recite every single morning in our korbanot. It's actually a Gemara in Masechet Shabbat. Elu devarim she'adam ha'oseh otam ochel miperotehem ba'olam hazeh ve'aken kayemet lo la'olam haba. These are the things that a man who does them will eat from these fruits in this world, and the reward will be still safe for him in the next world. And it begins, kibud avayim, honoring one's parents, gmilut chasadim, loving kindness, bikur cholim, visiting the sick, achnasat orchim, bringing in guests, hashkamat petach knesset, waking up early to go to synagogue, va'avat shalom ben adam lachavero, bringing peace among friends, uben ish leishto, man and his wife, ve'talmud Torah keneged kulam. And the study of Torah is keneged kulam, equal to all of them. It gives the world the ability to exist, says Rav Aaron Kotler. It enables all of those people who are performing the other kindnesses, those that are bringing in guests, those who are waking up in the morning, those who are causing peace, those who are kibud avayim. All these people are only around because of the Talmud Torah keneged kulam. They can only function because of the Talmud Torah keneged kulam. There's a great mashal of the Hafetz Chaim. Hafetz Chaim was known for beautiful meshalim and parables of a wealthy man who hired an architect to build a luxury cruise ship, luxury liner. And he said, listen, this needs to be the most beautiful boat ever built. And if any part of the ship was not lavishly deluxe, because I'm not paying you for the work. So when he completed, he went around the ship to ascertain exactly, to see what it was, to see what was beautiful. And it was unbelievable. You're talking about gold bathroom fixtures, wall-to-wall marble, ballrooms, dining rooms. It was something to see, like the modern-day cruise ships. But when he was making his way downstairs, descending below the deck, he noticed a room with a plain metal door and a simple doorknob. And smoke was coming in from beneath the door. And when he opened it, he was appalled to find a room without carpet, and it was covered with soot. And he told the architect and the builder that if this room was not removed from the ship within 24 hours, they forfeit their fee. And they quickly removed the engine room, and the boat sank. That was the mashal. The mashal says the Hafetz Chaim, those who sit and they study Torah, to the outside world, they don't look impressive at all. They don't seem to be contributing in any way whatsoever, especially compared to those who are out there in the business world or in the world of medicine or law or finance. But it's that same unimpressive Bet Midrash with 4 walls and a bunch of books. That's the engine room. That's the engine room that keeps the entire universe going. A similar story also happened in the concerning the Jewish hospital in Radin, again where the Hafetz Chaim lived before it was built. The Hafetz Chaim arranged a emergency fundraising meeting to be held in the Bet Midrash of the yeshiva, and he wanted and invited all the wealthiest men of Radin to come to plea, to pledge money towards this hospital. And when the time came for the wealthiest man to give his pledge, he noticed a young Torah scholar sitting in the back studying, and he jokingly pointed at the Torah scholar and he said, "I will donate 100 times what that young man can donate." The Hafetz Chaim got so upset, he banged his lectern, his stender, and he said, "You can't donate 1,000 of what that young man can donate." So the guy was confused, because maybe this guy was some secretly rich man. And the Hafetz Chaim looked at the man and he says, "What are you going to pledge? 100 beds, 1,000 beds to provide for the sick?" Because that young man, with his studying of the Torah, can provide so much blessing that in the entire city of Radin will be eliminated from sickness. I worded that wrong. The entire city of Radin will have sickness eliminated in it. No need for your beds. That boy can do it. Sometimes we look at the boy studying in Kollel, the boy studying in Yeshiva, and that's all he's doing. That's all he's doing. He's sitting, he's learning. But they are really contributing to something. We just don't see it because our eyes are blind. We're masked when it comes to this stuff. This is the derech of Rabbi Shimon bar Yohai, ladies and gentlemen. So what happens when these two worlds combine? These two sides, that side of Rabbi Ishmael and the side of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, when they join, they have to have mutual respect. Rabbi Meir Shapiro, the founder of the Daf Yomi, says, "Uftorato yege yomam valayla." What does that mean? Uftorato yege. His Torah, he needs to engage. Every person must mediate his Torah, not the Torah of his neighbor. Understand your role and your responsibility. Torah is everywhere. Let me give you an example. Imagine Reuven lends Shimon money. He's his friend. Shimon needs money for a business loan. Reuven says, "Here's $10,000 for your business loan." There's Torah right there in that loan. What do you mean there's Torah in that loan? Friend just gave him $10,000, lent him, he's going to pay back. No, there is Torah in that loan. The Torah of the lender, the Torah of Reuven, is to be happy that he lent his friend. He's fulfilling the mitzvah that he's lending his friend interest-free. He's fulfilling the mitzvah of lending his friend and not pressuring him to pay him back. These are all mitzvot in the Torah. And the Torah of the borrower, of Shimon, is to be grateful. The Torah of the borrower is to work hard so that he can pay his loan on time, because that's also mitzvah. And the problems only begin when one starts to mediate in other people's Torah. When they start looking at other people's responsibilities and wondering why they're not coming through. Both groups have to be responsible for their own responsibilities. Both groups must appreciate what each others have. As a businessman, I'm going to fulfill my end of the bargain of Zevulun, and I'm going to support those of Issachar. And as a Torah scholar, as one who teaches Torah, then I'm going to fulfill my end of the deal. He's supporting me, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to do what I can to engage and sweat, like we said, in the words of the Torah. The worker must appreciate the fact that there is a Ben Torah, that there's somebody studying, because he now has an opportunity to support him. This is the meaning of Etz Chaim hi lamahazikim ba. The Torah is an Etz Chaim, the Torah is a tree of life for those who are mahazik. Mahazik can be grasped, to grasp it, or to support it. It's got a dual meaning. So the Etz Chaim is for the Torah learner, a person who grabs the Etz Chaim. It's mine. I'm taking it. I'm hugging it. I'm clinging to it. I take the Sefer and I'm not letting go. That's a Talmid Chacham. Shema Hazik Bam. He grabs it. He grasps it. But then you have those who are mahazik bam, who are supporting, who are who are keeping them tight, keeping them up. The Etayim, those are the supporters. We all have the opportunity. There was a story of a wealthy man who came up to the Hafetz Chaim. Again, the Hafetz Chaim was looking for money for his yeshiva. Again, he made another appeal to raise money. The man went up to the Hafetz Chaim and he says, please, how much do you need? I need 20,000 rubles. 20,000 rubles? I'm going to give you a check right now. 20,000 rubles, done. Here it is. Hafetz Chaim says, I'm sorry, I can't accept it. So what do you mean can't accept it? Here's all the money. You don't have to do any fundraising. You don't have to knock on people's doors. You don't have to print flyers. I'm giving you the money where it goes. If I take the money from you, says the Hafetz Chaim, then what happens to everybody else's opportunity of tzedakah? You would monopolize the support. You would deprive any opportunity from the other people to give tzedakah as well. And I know they're out there. They want to be a part of the yeshiva. So I can't let you monopolize the entire sum. Can you imagine if this was today? Can you just stop for one moment? This is the mind of the Hafetz Chaim. Imagine a synagogue, the school is looking to, it needs $5 million. And some guy says, I'll write you a check. And the school says, I'm sorry. No, keep your check. Just give me $500,000 and we'll collect the rest. Can you imagine if someone did that today? The Hafetz Chaim understood the opportunities involved when it comes to giving, to supporting the people that have the Parnasa, and they're able to share it. Another story, a very famous one, of the founder of the Telza Yeshiva, who, Rav Eliezer Gordon, was supported by his father-in-law. His name was Avram Yitzchak Nevezer. The story is brought down in Rabbi Lev's book. And he was supported so that he can focus on his Torah study and learning, devote all of his energies to Torah study. And when his family began to grow, he was offered multiple positions across the United States. And he said, let me take one of these positions so you don't have to support me. He was telling his father-in-law, this way you don't have to support me. Please, let me go. And but the father-in-law didn't want to, because I refuse. I want to support you. Stay where you are studying. I want to support you. So when his wife asked her husband, how long can we continue to support our daughter and our son-in-law's family? He said, honey, I'm not quite sure who's supporting who, but I'm happy the way it is now, so let me continue supporting my son-in-law's study. And when the prestigious rabbinical position was offered to his son-in-law in a different city, at that point the father-in-law couldn't detain him. He says, wow, this is such a huge position, you got to go and you got to take it. And it was shortly after he left for that position that the father-in-law passed away. And indeed, it was obvious who was supporting who. It was the son-in-law supporting the father-in-law. That's how the Torah supporter has to view those people studying. There has to be mutual admiration. There has to be mutual appreciation and feeling of indebtedness that the Ben Torah and the worker must have for each other. There's the Kehuna and the Leviyah, the Kohanim and the Levim and the Yisrael. I end with one more story tonight. Unbelievable story. This story took place in the city called Brisk. Brisk was a city well known for its incredible Torah scholars, Talmudists galore. We quote many. Rav Chaim Brisk, the Soloveitchik family came from Brisk. And this story took place on the night of Yom Kippur, on Kol Nidre. The minhag of the city was that the poor people, after Arvit, would stay in the synagogue and recite Tehillim all night. And the wealthier people went home to sleep. So one night, the Brisker Rav, and the Beta Levi, noticed a wealthy, prominent man who remained behind and started reading Tehillim together with the poor members of the Keilah. He called him over and he says, listen, I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. If you don't go home right now, you're going to be liable for a spiritual death penalty. The man was like, what? He was like flabbergasted. He goes, what did you say? So he explained to him the following. He goes, the Leviim in the Bet HaMikdash served two functions. Some were choir members, some of them were gatekeepers. And the Gemara tells us that if a choir member left his position and performed the duties of a gatekeeper, or vice versa, he was liable to a heavenly death penalty. Everyone has their post, everyone has a responsibility. And if you're in an army and you abandon your post, even if he doesn't leave the battlefield but defects to a different position, yes, he will be court-martialed and executed for defection. Because by leaving your post, you endanger everybody else. So when a person abandons his unique responsibility in Klal Yisrael, that's Hashem's army, even if he doesn't assume someone else's position, you're going to be similarly judged. So he began to explain to the guy, here in this city, in Brisk, we make an appeal for all the Torah and charitable institutions in the community. We, the poor people, who have nothing material to contribute, we have no money, what do? We stay up all night and we contribute. How? Through our Tehillim, through our prayers, for the success of these institutions throughout the year. The wealthy members, those that can give financially, those that can give materially with their resources, they have to go home and get a good night's sleep. Why? So that when they come back the next day on Yom Kippur, they're in a good mood and they can generously fulfill the mitzvah the next day. If you want to defect from your position and your responsibility, and you want to join the ranks of the poor, you will incur a spiritual death penalty. So go home, get a good night's sleep, come back tomorrow happy, and fulfill your responsibility properly. And that's how the Ben Torah must appreciate his role and not also seek to usurp the role of the wealthy man or the Balabait, the supporter. And the Balabait has to support and accept his role faithfully and not usurp the role of the Ben Torah. Yes, he still has to find time to study Torah, but understand your role, understand your mission. When these two divisions work harmoniously together, then there's no question that there will be an immense beracha of Parnasa. The sustenance will descend from Shamayim with full of beracha, full of bounty, and we will merit unbelievable reward, a spiritual reward, a physical reward, material prosperity, because Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Shimon bar Yohai are just fusing together. This is our mission. So everyone listening here tonight and in the future, you got to ask yourself that question. Which side you belong? Who do you represent? What are your responsibilities? And then act on them appropriately. Wishing everybody a wonderful night. See you next time.